Ladies and gentlemen, this is Curtis King of CurtisKingBeats.com. As if you didn't know, we're doing something a little bit different today. I wanted to have a conversation with a very popular YouTube personality and information giver, somebody that I feel like is just an ultimate go giver, Brandman Sean. I know a lot of you guys have been requesting that we have a conversation on here. And I know this may be looking kind of crazy right now with the phone sitting up here, but we're gonna make it work. I'm still getting used to, some of these other programs that allow me to stream it. But at the end of the day, the conversation is the thing that is the most important. Mind you, we're gonna sit up here, we're gonna have our conversation. But what I wanted to do was basically give you guys the opportunity to ask questions, that you may have of either of us. The basis of the conversation right now is really, what I wanted to ask questions about was basically, Brandman Sean's knowledge goes from everything from event planning for, artists and for more so artists and rappers and for just events in general. And it also goes to just general marketing information. He did some really great videos that I actually fell in love with. One being the, sort of how Fetty Wap's song, Trap Queen, how that blew up. What was sort of the how do I put it? The structure of it and how it went from ground zero to where it's at. So I really want to make sure that I have this conversation. But for starters, man, Brandman Sean, man, what's up, bro? How you doing?
What's up, man? Curtis, man, good talking to you. As you said about me, man, a lot of people have been requesting and saying I should be speaking with you for a good minute now. And for those of you who don't know Curtis, he's a producer. But he's a lot more than that. Dude's inspirer, man. He knows stuff from marketing, all the just many aspects of the game. Dude, really worth listening to. I've fell in love with his videos a good minute ago, but his transparency is one of the things I love, the things he gives out on the game. But me, as Curtis kind of alluded to, man, I'm a marketing and branding guy. Even deeper than that, I'm a product guy. Hey, I'm just happy to be having this conversation right now.
Sweet. Okay, so let me go ahead and jump in here and make sure I say my hellos, man. Y'all leave me alone. I know I said Fetty Wap kind of weird. I ain't say Fetty Wap. Fetty Wag. It's just, when you see the words in your head, it just sounds differently, right? But first and start, let's have a conversation, man. Let's just generally, how did you get started into, oh my goodness, how did you get started into doing what you are doing today, and what really drove you to this particular line of work within YouTube, or what is your background, I should say?
Okay, so I'm going to give an abridged version of the story, and really. A lot of my family has been involved in music, right? My dad and both his brothers were DJs. My uncle stayed DJing all the way up until I'm sure he might still be DJing. My grandma's been a singer, traveling like around the world, being flown out to like Italy and all this kind of stuff since only all the way up to like a few years ago. And she's like 73 right now, but pretty big in the gospel realm. My brother He's been in the industry for probably about 14, 15 years now. Just started a music group. They've been nominated for Grammy and all that stuff. So I always had the music around me. But I actually tried personally to go away from not necessarily music, but the marketing side at first. My brother and sister are marketing people. I decided to go to college for like computer information systems. So I was like the sun in the wilderness for a few years. But learning a lot of things that I learned as far as product and marketing and innovation was super helpful for what I bring back to the community. I never got out of music, by the way. And at that same time, I was in a production company. I was an artist myself, not by choice. I was forced into it by friends, not because I don't think I'm good. It's just because I didn't want to be a forefront, that kind of face at the time. But so I had that experience, and I've worked with a slew of artists, mostly hip hop, and on teams. Right now, I'm working with one primary artist full time. Her name is Yanni. Really looking to break her within the next year. And that's pretty much kind of how I got into my just music in general. But marketing is just that thing that's a passion of mine. Like I said, I tried to avoid it, but I was always doing marketing, no matter what, for all other people, artists, And if there's a product that I think is great, I feel like it needs to be seen. And marketing was just the skills to make it get seen. And when I got into these videos, it was just like, hey, at first I would do a few videos for my friends, so I could kind of make it make sense to them because they weren't getting it through conversation. And there was a few subscribers that said, hey, dude, this is like useful. Keep doing it. So I kept doing it.
And just for those who are maybe unfamiliar, what is your actual YouTube channel? Like, what is the actual name for them? Somebody asked that right now, actually.
My YouTube channel is Brandman Sean. So that's BRANDMAN, one word, Sean, SEAN, the best way to spell Sean. And that's it. You look up Brandman Sean on YouTube and it's going to pop up. I got my SEO right.
Right. Hey, you know what? And that cannot be overlooked. I'll tell you just from my own, for people who don't know or not familiar, because we're probably going to end up sharing this video within both of our channels. My name is Curtis King of CurtisKingBeats.com. My YouTube is Curtis King TV. It started for me as a journey as a rapper and a producer. I got really deep within the industry, and I've had many of folks that I've worked with, from Absol to Kendrick Lamar to E40 to Murs. And, I really had the traditional route that it was for a producer / rapper. And, I had my success in what I did. I released an album in 2016 that went number 4 in the iTunes hip hop charts. And, these things happen over time. But before that, it was really a eye-opening experience for me being a part of the industry. And that, what I realized was that, I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled. There was things that I felt like I wanted to have more control on. There was things that I felt that my career, was worth more than me waiting on, record or major label placements, or waiting on, artists to get back to me about when I can actually get paid for my craft. And there was things that I just did not feel comfortable with, even the politicking of the game and having the whole fake it till you make it situation. These were things that did not make me feel like a business owner or an entrepreneur. And I've always been inspired by the likes of Tony Robbins, by the likes of Les Brown, by the likes of, all these influential individuals who, they really preach the gospel of owning your own and really walking your own path and not sitting up here making excuses for why you haven't been as successful as you want. It's one thing for you to have success from a fame standpoint, really more so local fame standpoint, but it's another thing to actually have success that you can leave your kids, success that you can leave for generations after you. And that became my focus, was how do I build up something that becomes sort of, as a pristine as a family crest, or pristine as something I can leave behind that says, the tradition of Curtis King is what I come from, whether, the day that I have a son or a daughter, that was really my focus. And so, thinking about legacy, thinking about those things is what got me into this. But initially it was like, I noticed there was a void within hip hop, and that there was a lot of people complaining from the old school and a lot of people complaining from the new school that, neither one of them were sharing information or sharing, the spotlight. And for me, I looked at it and said, well, why hasn't somebody right there in the middle, that's a middle-aged rapper, producer, why haven't they decided to fill that void and teach both sides? And you may ask, well, what can you teach an OG? You could teach them how to open up a band camp. What can you teach somebody that's younger? Well, you could teach them how to, grind without the internet. So there was things and lessons that need to be shared, and that's what I tried to make my YouTube channel for. So then the first video I did was the biggest lie in hip hop, and because of that, that opened up the gates for everything, So that video I think did 76,000 views in 24 hours on Facebook, and I had never had a music video that did that, or even a placement that did that. But then here we go, and it happens, and it's like, all right, cool. That's a little luck, But then I did another video that was, why you shouldn't spam on Facebook and how it affects your algorithm. That video was like 50,000 something views in 24 hours again. So I was like, there might be something here to that. And from there, it just spawned, a series called Artist Marketing and Producer Motivation, where I did exactly as the names entailed, is that I gave marketing advice to rappers and then motivation to producers who were in the same position as me, wanting to really make a name for themselves. So it's a pleasure to be able to have that conversation with somebody who definitely understands, where this industry is going. We talked
Sure.
about it briefly, but I mean, I would love for you to tell, my particular audience, and then I'll share my ideas with your audience as well. Where do you feel like this industry is going, for rappers and for producers, especially from an independent standpoint? Because as you remember, there used to be a time that it wasn't such a hot thing to say that you're an independent rapper. Most people would attribute that to, oh, you just trying to get signed still. You just haven't been discovered. That's what that means. What do you think the
Right.
industry is going now?
For sure. And right into that, I'm going to touch on something you said, because I don't really ever get to say it in my videos. A part of my approach and why it's going to be very non-traditional to how I enter and continue on in the industry is you went through it yourself. As far as getting the shock of the industry, I experienced it vicariously with my brother making certain ground of when he got his group. They got Grammy nominated, but then seeing that I don't see anything different about his life. Matter of fact, it might be a little bit worse right now. And that's when I started saying, yo, all right, what's the industry really like? And I was pretty young at the time. So this that is definitely my approach to the industry as far as being in control. This whole independent conversation, I love it because it's about that legacy and building and being in control for yourself. And I see just understanding the markets in general from a business standpoint. I always tell people, a lot of people think independence is a trend, but I think it's inevitable. It's just going to be the way of business because of all of these things that have happened technologically, the difficulty of breaking artists from a business standpoint for a bigger record label isn't making sense to try to do this whole time of the A&R building from ground up. So artists, even if you don't want to be independent for life, even though, I don't know, maybe in 20 years you might not have a choice, but there's going to be, everyone has to have some sort of period of independence. Right? You need to be able to build yourself, brand yourself, and build that following up at least until the point where you have leverage to actually get a record deal. Right? And some people are going to choose to stay that way, but everyone has to have those independent entrepreneurial qualities at this point. I know a lot of artists, it hurts to say, I didn't get this. I didn't want to be a business person, but you're going to have some of that business savvy and at least know the information. I always say two things. You can either become that person who has that duality and you can jump between one and the other because you know how to turn it off, or you need to at least know the information, have a certain level of understanding so you can hire people who really understand what they're doing and know they aren't BSing you, because there are a lot of people in the industry that aren't really great business people. They don't know what else that they can do. So they're just kind of feeling their way through things, and a lot of times that's how people end up with those bad deals.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that is something that, maybe that's why I had to go through the things that I went through, but that's what I experienced, was seeing those deals firsthand, seeing people who, finally got signed. I remember being in high school and there was a group that got signed, and before the high school year was over, they were already talking about how much they hated their deal and how much they hated the people that they were doing business with. I was like, man, we ain't even the school year ain't even over yet. We're not even in summer school, and y'all already talking about coming back to school. And it was an eye opener, but even then, it wasn't really as much of an eye opener as experiencing it. It's almost like when you're talking about a kid who doesn't believe that fire will burn them, and then they touch fire, and then it's like, oh, that is hot. Okay, maybe I should not do that then. So for me, I completely agree with you in that, I really feel like the industry, really did go under a huge transformation after, sort of music started getting as accessible as it did, and the Napsters came around and file sharing became its own wave. That's when there was a huge transition. But what happened was, I feel like the playing field was leveled, and when the playing field got leveled, we have opportunities now as independent rappers and producers that were not there 30 years ago, 40 years ago, was not there for us. Now you have that opportunity to jump on and have the same chance at the same audience, whether or not you have a budget or not. You may just have content that gets to the right people and the right, sort of tastemakers, or the people who can help you. There's a book called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell that talks about pretty much how things go viral. And that being said, nowadays you don't have to have $1 million budget to get $1 million push. Now
Yep.
you literally can create an idea, gather the right individuals. And in the book they talk about there's three people that your content has to go through in order for it to go viral. There's the salesman, the person that can sell anything. Everybody knows somebody that can just sell anything, right? There's a connector. That's somebody who just knows everybody. Somebody who's not necessarily somebody who can sell it, but they just know everybody. You ever met somebody that was like, yo, I know Snoop Dogg. How you know Snoop Dogg? Oh, my cousin who braids hair and used to work at Jack in the Box, used to take his orders only. Whatever the case may be, they know that. And then the third category is mavens. Mavens are people who you got to think of like the old lady at the supermarket who won't go shop at one supermarket because she knows that she'll save 20 cents on this particular toothpaste. So these are people who are specialists in knowing things. So when you reach all three of those people, your content goes viral. And that being said, I realize that now with the playing field being leveled, now we have the opportunity to basically put out content and not have to worry about, man, what kind of funding do I have? You can run a $10 boosted ad and have access to, 40,000 people. There's, a boosted ad on Facebook. There's no reason to even beg or try your best to try to get signed, because we all know 360 deals exist. We all know that these deals they're not made to be in your benefit. This is a business at the end of the day. And if a business has been in business for 60 something years, what makes you think because you just tight at music, they're going to come in and change their whole infrastructure for you? Yeah. So it's a hard lesson for a lot of people to hear. And for many people, they always looked at, well, I guess independence is what you do when you can't make it. No. Independence is what you do when you decide you want to control your own destiny. And,
Right.
Me being in control of it, I can't tell you how much happiness and how much freedom I have now, knowing that I get to wake up and decide what campaign do I want to do next. And I don't have to run it by 4 or 5 people. That's just not something that, I don't find happiness in that. But that being said, the first introduction that I had to a video, oh my goodness, camera falling. The first introduction I had to a video from you was, and please excuse the unprofessionalism, everything going on with this camera and all of this, but we are trying to make it work. Oh my goodness, trying to make it work. It'll look so much better when it's re-uploaded. But that being said, the first video that I actually consumed, I forget who sent it to me. But they sent me a video, and then I just went on a 2-hour binge of just watching your videos. And the first one that I saw was the Fetty Wap one that I told you about. And what I loved was that you broke down these details that were you really only hear people who are within the industry discuss these type of details. You don't really see that on a Facebook channel, YouTube channel, because most times when you see guys that are jumping up and they're talking about this information, and I know that I probably get that too, is that you don't know if it's going to be information that's pretty much being recycled and has already been said. A lot of the stuff you're saying is stuff that I haven't heard people saying before. And the way that you broke down the process of how Fetty Wap worked that record for about 2 years, I believe you were saying he did, and went to these radio stations, went to these club events, things that now traditionally rappers think like, oh, nobody does that anymore. No, they still do that. You're just not hearing that part of the story. That was one. And then two, the one that drew my eye and my attention was your video about event planning, and how you basically got this audience to come to your event. And these are the steps that you took. All great information. So that being said, and I definitely want the audience to get involved in this and ask your questions, but I wanted to ask you a specific question about, how does a rapper in 2017 get more people to their shows? In your opinion, how would you go ahead and address that?
Okay. So the event that you're referring to is an event called Adventure Time ATL. I started an indoor music festival, and we got over 1,000 people to come out. And that was the second time out. The first time it was like 500. And so there's multiple things that play into that. And when we're talking about getting somebody to come out to your event, I think the hugest thing is one simple paradigm shift that led to so many of the ideas that happened for me. And it's really about thinking of your event as something that's entertaining the audience. The biggest problem is people try to get people to come out to see them, but that's about it. We just want these numbers. I might try to figure out how to finesse, get people out to come see me. And then if we get those numbers, whatever numbers we get, it's cool. But the show is about me. At the end of the day, in the entertainment industry is truly a service business. And if you're not creating an event around making a great experience for the audience, then a lot of good ideas and a lot of things that are going to improve your stuff just organically, and some of them don't even cost money, you're gonna miss out on it. So with that being said, just to give an example, the reason I even came up with the concept of an indoor music festival is because I thought about this idea of going to all these events, right? You go to clubs, and the clubs, people are just standing around, not necessarily fun. Then you go to some of the artsier events around town, and the only difference in the artsier events and the clubs is there's art on the wall, and the artists claim to care about different values, but it was still the same thing. You go there, you stand around. So it was, how can we? I want to do something that engages the audience. I came up with the concept of having a whole building in each room feeling like a completely different world, whatever. But all that was just coming from the standpoint of how can I bring back value and stimulate the audience as much as possible. So what I'm saying for that is, if you can build interesting concepts around yourself as an artist, that's one of the hugest things to draw people out. And the reason that is because, one, you can create some form of curiosity and intrigue around what you're doing, as opposed to another show, right? Everybody does shows these days. There's so many shows. You have to figure out what is your sell. We can say novel or trivial, but once you actually deliver on that, then it becomes this whole spiral that starts to build your brand. So one, let's start off with trying to figure out, instead of just having a show, how can we create a full-blown experience with that? So the artist Yanni, we just did something called a album experience with her, and that wasn't just like a listening party. It was an experience in the standpoint of, it was almost like a play where she acted out things. She brought in actors on the scenes. There were so many nuances that that went into the actual experience of going through the entire project, and selling that on the front end of just saying this is an experience that already starts to get some nuances and changes of how people approach things. So that's really a conceptual principle part. But now when we get into some hard tactics, a lot of you artists you don't have a big name and a big reach yet. So can we get some other people involved? It sounds obvious, but that's going to bring out more people, right? You're going to get some more people if you get other artists involved who can work for you. There's a lot of people who think, hey, I'm on the bill, you ask me, they're not going to help you out. Don't bring those people on the show. Only work with some other artists who you feel like are going to have legs and bring out some people for you. 5 people, 10 people, all that stuff adds up. If you can leverage some sort of, let me see, what's the best way? If you can, this is a very simple, I don't know how many people I know this, but it's simple. I feel like it should be more known if it's not. If you have a few friends, right? 5 friends that y'all are working on, so y'all have social media, y'all have somewhat similar followings. If you're promoing, y'all need to be doing, some people call it a spider web, where y'all are posting at the same time so you capture attention, right? You're capturing real estate. Because when you do that, obviously, hey, somebody might scroll past one time, but then they see it again. You're really just getting into people's head at some point. And the way I look at any kind of marketing plan is, you have a period where you kind of push it out there, kind of get a little bit of curiosity. But then you have this arc of leading up to the event where you increase the consistency and frequency of how much you actually market and how much you push. Everybody's worried about spam, but they're going to forget that you had this whole period of time after you're done, because it's just leading up to one specific event. It's not like your entire page will always be spam. But when you're working on an event, you want people to get out. You want people to know about it. That's cool. But we can but I don't know. I guess if you have some specific questions that you want to ask, I don't want to just
No, no, you're
Let me
good. You're
know.
good because this is all valuable information. I think a lot of people can benefit from it. I think here's what I was more so getting at is that, I mean, you brought up another great point is that, I have so many videos on my channel about the difference between promotion and spam. And
Right.
I think that, when you're talking about trying to push an event, there is that opportunity because there's so much content that people are being exposed to, and it's not
Yeah.
just the internet. It includes
Yeah.
the commute to work, and they see 4 or 5 billboards before they get off of one exit.
Right.
And you're being exposed to that. Maybe even you're checking your Google home, or maybe your Yahoo homepage, and you're seeing news about the president and things like that are just really taking your attention span away. By the time that somebody is going through their work day and they get to lunchtime at 12, for you to expect that, hey, if I put up one flyer up there, hopefully at 12, they're going to remember that throughout the rest of their day when they get home at 5 or 6 p.m. if they're working a 9 to 5,
Yeah.
is just expecting a lot of that audience. So I guess my specific question is, where do you draw the line when you're promoting your shows between spam? Because obviously the other side of that is what happens when you push it so much that people become so immune to it that it just becomes like decoration for their
Okay.
timeline.
Got you. So perfect. And I'll do it this way because I'm so passionate about this subject. I could rant on for days. So look at it this way. If you guys are interested in the video, like, it'll be on my channel as for some hard tactics. It's like 1,000, three tips to get over 1,000 people at your event, something like that. But answering that question specifically is really that going right back to that main principle of how do I provide value and entertain for my people. It's not about, hey, come find out about me. I want to entertain you guys. And that one paradigm shift, and the example of this is when I'm marketing, right? I'm just throwing up that same shit every single time, every single time, because that doesn't do anything for them. And I mean, they get to the point they glaze over and keep moving. And if you have the money to do that and all that kind of stuff, and just take over people's entire screens outside of just posting, that's cool, but you become a nuisance. So the biggest way to do that is I always think of how can I entertain my audience. So for that event specifically, I used memes to promote it. I used creative videos to promote it. I used regular flyers. So everything we were posting, at the very least, we would get you to laugh sometimes, or sometimes I'll use good songs that I knew that everybody didn't know yet, but I found some dope music. And then I would integrate my marketing into that video. So then you have people like, yo, man, what song is that? You know what I mean? They probably, of course, they saw the video. They might have, registered about the event. It's somewhere in their subconscious, but they're like, yo, that's a dope song. Where can I find that song? So finding ways that you add value to your audience. So that way, no matter how many times, they might be like, I know Sean just wanted me to look at this, and know about his event. But at the same time, they'll appreciate what you're doing. They see that everybody understands you got to get that hustle on, but it's how you go about it.
Right, and I was gonna say too, you brought up a great point. Especially when you're talking about bringing these variations. One thing that I always try to preach when it comes to promoting your content or promoting your music is, try to build up as much what I call micro content as possible.
Yes.
What I define the micro content is basically, taking one song and figuring out how to break it into 12 different pieces of content. One song, like say for instance, you're a rapper. You have a song that you want to promote. There's 5 videos I can think of right now, no matter who you are, that you can do right now. One is a 16-bar breakdown of one of the whatever you consider the best verse from that song. Do a 16-bar breakdown where you break down 4 by 4 by 4. What does this song mean to you, and why did you write the lyrics that you wrote? What happened the day that you wrote it? You're promoting the song without promoting the song. It's almost like indirect subconscious suggestion with the marketing, and it's how you should do it nowadays because you're exposed to so much. And I got the idea from when I started promoting I had an album where it was like 18 songs on the album, and there were songs that people had bought the album and had not heard songs off the album. And then I will put like a promo video up and they'd be like, yo, what song is that from? Or what song is that on? I'm like, the album that you own, supposedly. You know, so and then I can't get mad at them because you realize that we all consume things in different ways. You know, some of us love to fall in love with like 4 or 5 songs from an album, and then that'll just be our experience with that album. Or we'll snatch songs off of an album and make our own, you know, a super playlist or whatnot. So that being said, yeah, you have to continue to beat them over the head with content, but it's not the same monotonous content over and over and over again. And like Sean was saying, is that there's so many ways to present it. Another video idea, like one is the lyric idea. Another video could be, you know, a sort of a Pictionary type video where you're using different pictures that pop up that represent the lyrics that are happening there. Yeah, that becomes its own content. GIF images and memes, those become like, you know, if the concept of your song is, you know, I just want to party, you find, you know, some funny looking meme where this is some kid or whatever, like a little kid that's dancing around, and, you know, it says, you know, for those of you that want to party, you know, some of us just want to party could be the meme for that video. Exactly. All of a sudden, by having your song in the background, people are watching that and sharing that and saying, man, what is that song in the background though? Somebody's going to inevitably ask that. And I almost look for that question now whenever I see a music songs getting, like whenever I see like a comedic video, I almost look for the question all the time. Yo, whose song is that? Because I know it's coming. So nowadays you just have to be, it may sound like a lot of work, but really it's fun because you got to think about, you know, back in the day, folks really tried to push an entire album and kind of shove that down your throat, you know, and give you little samplers being like the singles and whatnot, giving you samplers into it. Now you can take one song and literally make a living off of it for two years. If you're able to stretch out the marketing of it, and there's so many ways to do it. From merchandise, we haven't even talked about merchandise, but merchandise can be another extension of it, to where you literally have a lyric of the song across your shirt. People are buying into that. You get it to the point where people are buying into your song without even knowing that a song exists. And but when the song comes to them, it'll be like, yo, that's the soundtrack to the merchandise I bought off of you. That's sweet. Cool. What else do you have? There's so many different ways to do it, especially like I always use the example, if you're a rapper that raps in double time, there's no reason why you should not have a meme video that says, watch this rapper rap faster than Tech 9. And then just go ballistic. And then in the link description, make sure you have a call to action that leads them to your SoundCloud, leads them to your website preferably, leads them to even your Apple Music link so they can hear more music, maybe even get an audio version of that viral video. There's so many things to do now where the game is a lot more fun for those that are creative by nature. And we all, to a certain degree, if we're rappers and producers, we're all creative by nature. It's just a matter of really how much energy you want to exert towards that. Now, I don't know if you had any particular questions for me. Like, I didn't want this to run too long, but I think that we can definitely set up another conversation. I would love to do that, but I just know people's attention spans, you know, when these videos get too long. Including myself, I'm not clowning nobody, but I know it's including myself when the attention spans can get low.
Hey man, I always hate when that's why I keep videos short. So, but yeah, you hit the spot on with the creativity, man. One thing I'll say before I ask you a question is, a great example is an artist, you know, that I converse with. He has a song called Mozzie. I think it's going to light up real soon. But what was interesting is, one of the best advertisements I've seen for it was, I was like, yo, man, we got to get some influencers to help promote your stuff, man. And the ad, speaking to what you're saying, really organically being there, the girls, they're called Cianji twins. So they got like 3 million followers or something, like some 16-year-old chicks. And they got, they were in the mirror, they're twins getting ready for like doing their hair and all that stuff. And then at the same time, they're rocking out to the song. And then at some point they stopped and like started singing some of the words, right? And then they went back to getting ready. That's so organic. And what it feels like and looks like is these girls genuinely just love this song. They're rocking out to it. So when you guys try to get stuff placed, don't just say, hey, can you post my video? You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get as big of an ROI, especially when people are used to the fact that people are trying to advertise. That's just one small segment of it. But keep that in mind. Be creative and try to make it look and feel as organic as possible. But a huge question I wanted to ask you, Curtis, is when you talk about producers and the placements. I remember you talked about when you first started selling beats online, and some people in the industry were kind of like looking down upon it. What do you prefer as far as which route? I mean, I know you're free now and doing and it's successful, but so it's probably what you're doing now. But what do you encourage people to do as far as making that decision? And can you do both?
Right. I think that there does exist a world now where you can do both and not be looked down upon. I think people
Okay.
understand, they're getting a better understanding the more they see individuals like, the superstar O's who are like the extreme version of success within this industry, where you're talking about a guy that has bought multiple Lamborghinis and, really shows you like this is the lifestyle that you could have when you control your own destiny. And that's not to say that people who are trying to get placements are not controlling their own destiny, but what they have to realize is this. The leasing business was looked down upon because it was once again looked down upon like the independent game. So where you have people who look at people who are independent rappers as people who haven't made it yet. You're only independent because you haven't made it yet. So you'll get people who may have hundreds of thousands of fans as an independent artist, and they still got an auntie trying to hook them up with P. Diddy because they're like, I think you need to get your music here so you can really do some serious stuff. And it's like, no, he's actually doing his thing. I think because of that stigma, it's the same thing that happened with leasing producers, in that, the stigma was that these are struggle producers. These are people who, are cheapening the brand, because you got to think there's producers like Timbaland that were selling beats at one time for $500,000. Here we are, leasing beats for $25 or $50. Of course, they're going to look at that and say, okay, you're cheapening the quality or the brand. And especially now that you look and you see there's more producers that have sounds that actually compete with these producers who are legends. It's not so hard to find, a Dr. Dre style type beat, and a Swiss Beast type beat. So these producers who represented that generation, now that veil is kind of lifted off. And what happened is this. You got to think of it from the producer like myself. I was I was pursuing placements, and I got placements over a 10-year period. 10-year period, I got paid. I had certain situations that worked out well. In 10 years, the money that I got from there couldn't rival 2 months of what I got from my leasing business. Because here's the reality of it. For me as a producer that was getting placements, I was getting placements that, were going all across the world. People fall in love with the rappers, first of all. The production is probably a second or third thought. If somebody hears to be like, yo, that beat is crazy. Yo, that's that one song. That's that Ab Soul song. Yo, play that again. Nobody's saying, like, somebody who's 15-year-old girl is not saying, yo, that beat is crazy. Who's the producer? Like, that wasn't the reality of that time. The thing is, that beat is crazy. Yo, play that song again. It don't care about who the producer is. Now, though, there's a new reality in that these producers that are leasing their beats, when they look at it as an actual business and not just a financial come up, you start to realize that you control your time. You start to realize you control your craft because you're not having to be told you have to make these style of beats in order to make it. No. Make what you're great at, and that'll make you more successful in this business. Also, too, you're determining your own hours. I used to grind till 4 a.m. in the morning, not for bragging rights, but because it's just how other rappers used to operate. I hated it. I love working on my own stuff till 4 in the morning. I hated going in studio sessions because I don't smoke. I didn't really drink like that. And I'd be in sessions where I'd just be like, my energy will be so drained because I'm just looking around like, yo, this cannot be an environment for creativity. So for me, I looked at it and I said, okay, what will give me more control? And the first question I had to ask, and I learned this from Tim Ferriss in a book called The 4-Hour Workweek, is don't ask what career to get into. Ask what kind of life you want to live first. When you determine the kind of lifestyle that you want, the work that you're going to do is not going to matter because you'll have the lifestyle that you want that will ultimately give you happiness. So for me, I said, I want to be at home. I'm a homebody. I'm not a club goer. I don't want to show up. I don't want to make appearances. I don't want to do that. If I show up, I want to be in front of professionals that understand that this is a business. If I show up. So I said, you know what? I would love to do professional speaking. And I would also like to be at home so that if, the day that I decide to have a family, I don't have to go, all across the U.S. I've toured. I went on a 2-month tour with my buddy Murs I've experienced the tour life. I've seen what it does to grown men, man, and it stresses them out being out there away from the family. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, I said the lifestyle that I want is I want to be able to be around my family, but I love music. I don't want to quit music. So why not create it from my home? Why not determine my own hours? Why not wake up today and say, do I want to go to the beach today or do I want to make a beat? Either way, I'm gonna be good. You know, I wanted the option to do that and not have to worry about, oh my God, my manager at my job, because I worked 4 years at Quiznos and I never
Okay.
stepped back into another job after that. That was all I needed. I saw that experience. I said, yep, I'm good. I'm Gucci, actually. But that being said, you know, that opened my eyes up. And I think now, I know it's a long-winded answer, but now what happened is that it's possible to do both, but at some point in time, you can't straddle the fence. At some point in time, one of them is going to have more demand on your time, your attention, and your happiness. For me, waiting waiting 3 quarters, like say you got a placement in January, you're waiting probably up to a year, if not 2 other quarters after the project comes out to finally get paid. Meanwhile, you're stacking up bills, you're stacking up debt, and you're not getting money back. Leasing business pays you every single day. You know, if you're efficient at what you do, if you have a clear presentation in terms of your website and your beats are consistent within your branding, you could be making money every single day from this. Yes, it's not $500,000 every day, but it is money that I tell you, within the first 2 months, I made more than I made in 10 years of pursuing placements. And I was getting my placements. I got placements with MTV and Van skateboarding and all these different things, but it was just like, it fulfills me to know that I control my destiny, control my business. And so I think that's where things are now, and that producers in the independent spectrum, leasing producers, are making so much money now that they're like, I don't care what you respect. I really don't care, because my bills are taken care of, and you know, my mama's not telling me to keep the noise down because I'm paying for stuff around the house. I mean, thankfully I didn't move out of my mama's house years and years ago. But that's the thing about it, is that now, you know, you're getting 17, 18-year-old producers who are becoming popular within the leasing world, and they're owning their business before they turn 20. To me, that's remarkable. That's inspirational. And I just want to do the best I can to share my information with other producers so that they don't feel embarrassed to go this route. This is not an embarrassing route. It's not embarrassing to own your own. And the people who try to make you feel embarrassed about that are jealous of the fact that they don't have the opportunity to do what you're getting ready to do.
Yep, that's the biggest thing I feel like in this industry, where it's going to change. Hopefully, don't get caught up trying to win in the old perception of the industry. This whole fame thing and that part is killing people. Like, kind of like we talked about the other day. A lot of people would praise you more for being, you know, somebody on the basketball court than they would praise you for being an owner of the team, because we get so caught up in this vision of success and what that looks like. And you have so many people that have placements, they have hot songs, and they're not making any money. But I really think people are going to transition into the part of the industry where they really, because of all this opportunity and just because the playing field leveling out, they're going to realize and look at it as a lot more as a job. I know we're not taking the creativity out of the industry, but they're going to look at it a lot more as a job, and how do I feed my family, and then we can build on from there. So you're going to have artists, all these artists touring. Everybody's not going to, you know, a lot of these artists that are touring full time, they're still not making millions of dollars, but they're making $100,000, $40,000, $60,000 living their dream, as opposed to doing something that they don't like, where people might not consider them successful. So you might not feel like, oh, I'm successful, because everybody else doesn't think you're successful because you're not in Forbes or something like that. But they're living for $70,000 a year or $50,000 a year doing something they don't even like, and you're making the same amount of money or even more living your dream. And that's why people have to be self-aware and do what you want to do.
Sure. And I don't mean to cut you off, but I say you're making a really valid point in that these folks are doing what they ultimately love to do. And I think that when you're doing what you love to do, you'll deal with the politics of it. And for me, I love making music. I love creating beats. I love creating songs. I did not enjoy the industry politics. It was a necessary evil, but what is it a necessary evil for is a question I had to ask myself. Is it necessary for me to become famous? Well, how much do I want fame? And how much do I want success that I can actually see in a bank account and hold in my hand and leave to my children or leave to, leave as a legacy? That kind of success I was not seeing. But, meanwhile, everybody's shaking your hand. And, what they don't realize is they're a fan of you and they may have more money in their pocket than you have in your pocket. And because you're the person in this position, it looks glamorous, it looks sexy. But if you're sacrificing for the dream that you don't want, stop doing it. At the end of the day, you have to really weigh what it is that you want from this. And really, all of us want what we want from a very spiritual sense. We all want a feeling that we think that it gives us, whether it's, we get a feeling of acceptance or a feeling of, certainty from working with this. There's a specific thing that we want, a feeling that we want. And once we get three, like, I'll give you an example. Tony Robbins talks about there's 6 needs of the human being: a need for certainty, a need for uncertainty, a need for significance, a need for love and affection. And then the 2 needs that we need to be happy: growth and contribution, giving. When we get those 2, we're happy. But most times we get so wrapped up in these other needs to where if we have something that gives us certainty. So for instance, if you're going to get a certain reaction by doing these crazy rap songs, you're going to do it. If you know that it makes you feel significant because nobody else in your area is doing it, you're going to continue to do it. If you interpret the love, the comments as love and likes as love, you'll do it. When 3 things become in that spectrum, they become an addiction. And that's not even including the things that make you happy. So something literally that doesn't make you happy can be an addiction for you as a rapper and as a producer. So you have to be so careful to look at this business and really realize, like, it's going to be a lot of sacrifice, and I do. But when you get to the finish line where you be inside of a big ass house looking around like, I don't even like the city I'm in. I don't like what I'm known for. I don't like the walls. I don't, you're going for a feeling, and that feeling that you think that $1 million is going to bring you, or 50 million or whatever, you could have that feeling right now. Once you get that, once you realize that you have abundance around you and that most of the world lives off of less than $2, you'll be in a lot better mind space to approach this industry or approach your own business. And that's what I really try to preach within my videos is that, create your own. Do not be afraid to go about it. And if you mess up, so what? The difference between you and somebody with $3 million in their bank account now is that they failed more times than you. That's all that it is. So I think that's important. But let's go ahead and do like a quick little Q&A. I know the video is running a little bit longer than I anticipated, but let me do a quick Q&A. So if you've asked questions before, I apologize. We've really been having a great conversation, and I hope that you've been finding value in it. What I want to make sure that we do is you ask specific questions that you may have of myself or even Brandman Sean. Let's get to those questions. So, specifically questions dealing with marketing, specifically questions dealing with, we'll just look at it and see what pops up, but I would love to get your questions. What are your thoughts on getting fake views or plays to rank? What do you feel about that, Brandman Sean?
To rank where?
That's a good question. I'm assuming it's to rank, YouTube or rank, SoundCloud charts or what.
Yeah, anybody that knows me, I'm pretty much anti all of the fake stuff. The reason why is really I take a logical approach to it, right? If I'm marketing, I'm building a business, I want to do something. If I got 100,000 followers, but most of them are fake, how am I, when I decide to do a show or something like that, I don't have any real fans. I don't know how many of my fans are real and fake anymore. So I really have no real gauge of what I should expect to come out to my show. So it doesn't really benefit you. And then let alone, let's not even get into the psychological standpoint of once you have those views, you will get caught up and used to having that number. So now it's just a rabbit hole of continuing to do more fake stuff because you're trying to keep up with this thing that other people think you have. But no, just from a logical standpoint, it's not going to help you to have that fake information because you aren't going to be able to make real business decisions, touring decisions, data-driven decisions to actually benefit from, because you don't have any real data to work from. You don't know if this city is really listening to me or not versus that city. Should I go here? If I put out this song, how many views should I expect? You don't know any of that stuff. And people can sniff out the fake stuff so much these days.
Do you think the
it's not.
audience is better at that now? Do you think that they're more informed than they've ever been?
I got conversations with my friends all the time where we can tell somebody has fake views and all that kind of stuff, or when they bought to a certain point. I'm to the point, especially because I do this, to where I can tell someone bought to a certain point, but then they start doing organic and they have been building. There's some valuable, but they made the mistake of buying fake views at the beginning. You can see all of those things. Like, it's an artist who has like 64,000 followers that I'm working with, and well, potentially working with. But one of the things I asked his team up front was, yo, did he ever buy views? And it turns out, because this is just from my looking, and it turns out that somebody in his family bought views for him without him even asking, like years ago, and it added about 5 to 10,000 fake ones or whatever. So you can tell I'm probably better at it than some people, because kind of a part of my job, but this generation has grown up with this, so they can tell what an ad is. They can tell fake views. You got Future has fake views. I mean, fake subscribers. You can look at his statistics. You can tell he has some fake subscribers. And there's been a report that a lot of these celebrities, as big as their names are, for some reason, I guess their teams, they buy those fake followers, which is crazy to me. It's like, you're Taylor Swift. Why do you need fake followers? You know what I mean?
Do you remember when the whole Instagram gate happened, and Mace, I believe, lost over 2 million followers, supposedly, when they were exposing a lot of these spam accounts, and that was something that happened. And I was going to just kind of briefly speak on that, is that, Brandman Sean is dead on, is that, what happens is that when you get into that mindset, you start to believe your own hype. And for me, that happened to me because I was buying views. I was using Fiverr to buy views because I was like, you know what? Let's be strategic about it. Let's go really slowly about the views. And once we get it, people will see that and be like, yo, people are paying attention, because there is a certain amount of truth to people don't want to be the only ones viewing something. If nobody else is commenting, people are they do follow one another. So if people are not consuming your information, or they're not consuming your videos, people are going to turn a deaf ear to it. But still, you don't want to believe your own hype. You don't want to get in a situation where you're expected more of when people do book you. Sometimes the worst thing somebody can do is book you after you've paid for views, because if you have 2 million views on a YouTube video, and that promoter's mind, they're like, oh, we about to clean up, about to bring him, we're gonna make you a headliner, oh, we're gonna pay you $500, and you can't get 4 people to the show. It just looks so bad, and promoters talk amongst themselves in your local area. It'll just be such a bad look for you. And you got to ask, was that boost really worth it? Now, there's some organic boosting that you can do, like ads, Facebook ads. How about let's go that route. If you're going to be putting money into it, why not make sure it's getting in front of real people to get a real opinion? And I think the reason why is that most people are not concerned about the real opinion. What they want is the artificial enjoyment of looking at their numbers go up and then reach monumental heights that they've never seen. They want that artificial stimulant, I should say.
Sure. And marketing by nature really is artificial, but great marketing is artificial to create organic, which is basically what.
Say that one more time. Say that one more time, because that was a bar. That was an absolute bar. Please say that one more time.
Marketing is artificial by nature, but great marketing is artificial to create organic, right? You put that in front of people. You pay for those ads, but you want them to start moving by themselves, which is, I actually tried to upload a video earlier today. It's probably not up. My phone uploads super slow, but it's the difference between great products and the remarkable products and trash products. But I don't want to get into that. That's outside of the question. But think of it this way: as an independent artist, you cannot really afford to start creating all this fake data and stuff for you if you really want to be strategic and do it long term. These record labels, they pay. Back in the day, there's been plenty accounts of buying 300,000 records to increase the week sales, but they're playing a totally different game, and that's not the game you're playing.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna have to wrap up only because I have a 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Pacific time follow-up consultation. But We got a little bit under an hour here of a conversation that I think that people are going to go back to. And like I said, we got to do this again, even if we got to do this, the next month and let people kind of digest this. I really enjoy having these conversations with you because it's so great to get that exchange of energy. Here I am in California. Here you are in Atlanta. I think that it's great to see, independents help each other and really give really valuable information that's real. So that being said, let's kind of sign off and let people know where they can reach you. I don't know where they can reach me. And then, until the next time, my friend.
Yeah, once again, Brandman Sean, BRAND man. That's one word, and then SEAN after that. Just look, I'm that on everything.
Okay. So then once again, Curtis King of CurtisKingBeats.com. I know people are sick of hearing that on my channel, but you're going to keep hearing that from a branding aspect. Curtis King of CurtisKingBeats.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Everything is the same at Curtis King with 2 S's. As well as the YouTube channel is Curtis King TV. If you ever want to reach me on there, I'd certainly appreciate everyone that has been listening today and asking questions. I'm sure that next time I will make sure that I give you preparation. Usually I do a video, but all of this was such last minute. This is the beauty of what you guys do. This is because of you that me and Brandman Sean are on this videos because somebody shared my content with him and then somebody else shared his content with me. And because of this, we're able now to kind of, Mighty Morph Up. For those who remember the Power Rangers, we're able to Mighty Morph Up and sit here and give you double the value because at the end of the day, what I love about this particular space in music now, especially with the YouTube, is that folks that I have met from Game, from, Sankis to Brandman Sean to all the folks that I try to introduce you on my channel, there's not been no egos involved. And I love it. I love the fact that we're just sitting here saying, look, I just want to help people in whatever aspect that I can with the best that I have. And it's happening now. You guys are seeing a transformation, guys and girls. You're seeing a transformation right before your eyes that has not been seen in this industry, and really embrace it. Embrace your independence. Embrace your freedom. Embrace your happiness. And make sure that you continue to share content from Brandman Sean as well as myself. And these things will be more important as time goes on. You have to realize that we are literally the of this industry. We are the Gary V's, the Tony Robbins, the Les Browns of this generation, because we're here to inspire. Honestly, we're here to inspire those who really want something for themselves. And, that's what it is. So once again, like I said, Curtis King at CurtisKingBeats.com, signing off. There I go again. Brandman Sean, thank you so much for being on the channel, brother.
Hey, and one last thing, shout out to Sazi, because he's the one who asked me so much more than anybody to do this collab to you. Shout out to everybody who's watched all the way to this point. It means a lot. And shout out to Curtis, because he's about to go get some more money.
Oh, man, something like that. My brother, man, well, you have a good one, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. Y'all have a good one. Peace.